This episode is brought to you by Surfshark. What is Surfshark? It's an app. It's a browser extension, and it basically helps you protect your stuff. And it also allows you to find things that you normally wouldn't be able to because they block it. They say, yeah, you can't access it. And Surfshark says, yes, you can. It allows you to change your IP address to unblock content that you couldn't see otherwise, and you have access to the app itself. You log on where you are. For me, look, I'm in LA. I hit the button, boom, boom, boom. It says you're accepted, and then you start searching for your stuff. It's that easy. It's really great also because, especially, I get people all the time talking to me about Netflix. Did you see this stuff on Netflix that I was able to see? And I'm like, no, because I don't live in that country. It's like, well, again, Surfshark goes, hey, use your app. You'll be able to see it. And that's what you do. You log in, you go and you check it out, you pick the country, and you watch it. One of the other important things is that it encrypts your data and it puts an extra level of protection on it. That's the thing. That was the absolute for me, is that it keeps all your personal information safe, and you want to be secure, and that's how the internet is, guys. And when you have somebody like Surfshark, that helps you get that extra layer of protection. The other thing I really like about Surfshark is the fact that you can have access to every device. It's not just one. And a lot of times that's what happens. Like, well, you're using it on your laptop, so you can't use it on your phone, or you can't use it on your iPad, or you can't use it on this. Surfshark says, no, you can use it on everything. It is unlimited. Use it on everything you want. So it's that simple. Look at all the great stuff already that I've told you that Surfshark provides. And how do you benefit? Well, you use my code BIGTHING. That's right. If you use that code BIGTHING, it will provide you guys with an exclusive deal. 3 extra months for free. That's right. So if you go to surfshark.deals/bigthing, surfshark.deals/bigthing, get yourself 3 extra months for free. I mean, that's enough right there. So go and check it out. Stay safe. Do what you got to do. It's Surfshark. And I just pointed at you again. How's it going, everybody? It is episode 7, Ahsoka, spoiler, heavy review, breakdown, all that and more. The last few episodes I did reactions to. I wasn't able to do that yesterday because I was seeing the Paw Patrol movie with my kids, and I get the out of the theater reaction coming out for that one. But that's not why you're here. You're here for the Ahsoka spoiler review, breakdown, all that. If you haven't done it already, we're getting close, man. We're approaching my birthday month. That's October. Hoping to get to 100,000 by October, almost at 95. So if you're brand new to the channel, you've never been here before, we got a lot of cool stuff. We got the out of the theater reactions. We got spoiler reviews. We got shorts. I just did the reactions to One Piece. I'm almost done with that series. Going to be doing some reactions to some movies. So I'd love to have you involved. If you'd like to be involved, hit that button, man. Okay, let's first start with this. I really enjoyed this episode. It's probably, as I said in my the immediate reaction, it's probably my favorite episode of the season. I was pretty shocked to see some people thought it was like filler and a couple other things, that people didn't. Most people seem to have liked it, but you're always going to get people who just hate to hate. But then you can get some legitimate criticisms, which I saw also. The hate to hate, I usually just, if they're just coming in to either insult or any of that, I just delete them and nobody sees it anyway. But if you're actually legitimately criticizing it and have like what Mike does, and what he'll probably do today, and you have like legitimate criticisms about it, I love seeing them because I like to see people's different points of view. And there were some that thought it was filler. There were some that thought that it didn't, that some of it didn't, some of the lightsaber fights didn't look good. I didn't have those problems. I had one major issue that I think a lot of people did, and we'll get to it in a little bit. But other than that, I really liked how it moved the plot forward. Someone said in the comments yesterday, well, you keep saying it moves the plot forward. It seems like you're trying to convince yourself. No, it's moving the plot forward. It's an 8-episode series that's starting from one particular point in the story, and it feels like a full-on movie all the way through. So I'm actually pretty involved with it. And so far, I mean, I'm emotionally involved. I think they've set it up pretty well. So let's get into what we start with here. And we start with Coruscant. And I love that we're seeing Coruscant. And I love how we're seeing kind of the inner workings of like the New Republic. And we start out with this. And at first I was like, wow, they're not doing they're cutting down on budget here, doing like this little room. But then I said, where else are they going to have this thing? They're not going to do like a big old huge like what they did in the prequels and everything too. Why? It's just it's like a little courtroom thing to see if Hera's worthy of having her rank still, and if she's going rogue, they're gonna have this little hearing, and that was it. They have the people that were supposed to be there. Mon Mothma, man, doesn't age. Looks the same as she did in Andor. Genevieve O'Reilly is so good in this too. But there is one thing that Mon Mothma has been doing a lot of, and I don't know, and it's not her fault. She just didn't have a lot to say in the beginning of this. A lot of this, she was just doing or she would go, like, there was just a lot of that. But eventually we got going because it was really about the showdown. And I love how Hera gives the douchebag McGillicuddy the business. And I say that because you're supposed to feel that way. This guy is doing exactly what a good heel in wrestling should be doing. He's got good heat because the character, sucks. And she was going back and forth with the dude who wants her off. But then Carson comes in and goes, we got problems. Whatever we were working on, it ain't working. And this guy's loving it. He's giving her crap. He wants to pull her stripes. He basically, this guy is the epitome of a politician. You see him all the time on the news outlets today. This guy's the epitome of all of them. And the actor is so good at doing what he's doing because you just hate him. Every time he opens his mouth, you just hate him. And it's just a testament to how good the actor is on what he's doing. But, Hera looks like she's in major trouble here. They're like, you have, because douchebag McGillicuddy is basically saying, okay, look, man, you got these reports. I see your reports. But you might as well be testifying with David Grush because the hearsay and all these different things. Would you need a skiff? Because space whales and Jedi and rogue Jedi and Thrawn is like, you're making it up. She said, I'm just like Grush. I'm not making it up. I got evidence. But she's just going back and forth, and then finally, when things go down, I did see. I'm very curious to see the comments all the way through. Like I said, I saw a few comments here and there, but I loved this part, by the way, when Carson stands up and goes, "Wait a minute, you're telling me that the Empire is not." The remnants are not. What about Gideon? What about the stuff going on with Mandalorians? On the Mandalorian, looping it all back together and showing us that we're all part of this thing, because it's great to also say, yeah, what about all that stuff? We just saw that in 3 seasons. You're going to tell me that doesn't exist? And he's like, that guy was just a putz, and he's going off and doing his own thing, and he got shut down pretty quick. So he's like, that's my point exactly. And I love that. All that stuff was working for me, for sure. And then this is the thing that I loved. I loved this because Carson has to sit down and then in comes 3PO. Now I saw somebody go, "Oh, this is just a cameo to have a cameo," and go, "Remember this." You are not using your head. This is the thing that I had said that was driving me nuts, that they finally kind of referenced. I think it was in episode 5. I was like, why aren't they even mentioning Leia? They haven't mentioned Leia. She's one of the biggest political forces out there. They haven't even mentioned her. I said, obviously, you don't want to. It's going to be tricky tiptoeing in the deep fake stuff again. And we did that with Rise of Skywalker, and it's tricky because she's passed, obviously, and you want to be respectful. And do you necessarily need her to show her? And in episode 5, they mention her. I go, well, at least they're mentioning her. They should be mentioning her. She's still involved in the government. So when they send 3PO in, and he comes in, he's like, I am C. They go C-3PO, and then Mon Mothma brings it up and says, "What's up, homie? What are you doing here?" And so Hera knows something now. This is the plan in motion. She knows what's working. And 3PO comes out and he goes, "Look, Leia has been working on the side here with Hera, and she approved this mission. She's the one that she's involved in the arms, and she's in charge of defense, and she says this is a thing." And douchebag McGillicuddy goes, "Well, what am I going to do? It's Leia." And that's why it's important. You can't. Yes, could you have sent like some kind of AI voice thing with Leia, or could you put her likeness? Sure. But this was a way, and right now, with the writer's strike is finally over, SAG strike's still going on. AI is still a big thing they're trying to figure out. So if they would have done, and this would have been beforehand, before the strike, all that stuff, they would have used AI at that point. So you send 3PO in, and 3PO's in there, and he basically says, no, Leia's very much involved in all this. Leia very much is still very powerful, and she is a very respected form, and you got it. Why didn't she show up? Because she's got other stuff going on. So she sent 3PO. And I'll tell you this, 3PO was used the best he's been used since the maybe original trilogy. Because in the prequels, he's kind of, finding his legs and gets formed and bumbling around and doesn't really do anything of merit. In the sequel trilogy, he's completely useless. But in this, it's like he's been with Leia. He's Leia's guy. So he comes in and he puts this. I thought it was a great usage of C-3PO. I did not feel like it was a member berry at all. Disagree with that entirely. And I think that it also sets in motion of what Leia is, and it also shows the power that she's still got, right? And then I love the fact that when douchebag McGillicuddy tries to insult 3PO, Chopper gets pissed off. Carson tells him to relax, and then it is what it is. They make the ruling of it, and there's nothing that this guy can do. He's got to eat it, and Hera stays on the board. Hera stays with the rebellion. But Mon Mothma goes, I know you guys are full of it. I know she didn't approve this. And he's like, well, she did afterwards. And Mon Mothma goes, okay, you made your moves. I like what you did here. But I got to ask you, how real is the threat? She's like, it's pretty damn real. So, boom. And then we get to, and then Ahsoka pops up. And here we go. Now, Space Whales are still flying around all over the place. We're still going through this long thing. And then this was where, so if you guys are on my, whether on Patreon or we were doing the Q&A session yesterday, and someone had asked if I thought Anakin was going to show back up. And I adamantly said no. And then PLD, my producer, was like, yeah, I think you're wrong. I think he's going to show up. I think he had an inside tip, but it's also default. He shows up, but not in the same way. But he does show up, so he wins this one. But they did this, and they have Anakin in the Clone Wars haircut before Sith, and he even mentions Dooku, he mentions Ventress, he mentions Grievous, he mentions all these people, and it's like these recordings as she's going through and the connection that they had, and we find out that he had done all these different things for her and these different videos, and this was kind of the last one that he did before she left the Order, and I love when Hu Yang comes in and she's like, I didn't realize how thoughtful. She's like, yeah, he was a good master, and this was a good scene. I mean, they're really letting Hayden shine as Anakin. You're seeing the Anakin that we saw in the Clone Wars animated series, and it's coming through with Hayden. And all respect to George Lucas. But Hayden didn't get the proper direction to really shine with the character in the way he is now. Now, also granted, he's years older. He's gotten more life experience, all this stuff, and he's been able to he said it himself. He's referenced the Clone Wars. He's referenced all these things. He's watched all these things to get a feel of the character in new ways, and he's really, really bringing a new level to Anakin that we had never seen before, and even outside the animation, obviously, but with his performance. And I thought it was a really sweet moment. I thought it was nice, and I thought it also showed how close these two were. And it also shows that she's still under his teachings. And she bows to him, gives him the nod. And then she's like, what do you need, Hu Yang? He's like, well, I think the whales are coming out of the hyper thing. So they do. And this was about as Star Wars-y as you get, right? And I'd said this in my reaction. I think what I really liked about this episode was that people always talked about, and I would always argue with people when they would say that Star Wars is science fiction. It's not. It's science fiction fantasy. It's always been science fiction fantasy. And that is what George Lucas always said. That is what Dave Filoni has carried over. And it clearly, with the witches and the space whales and all these different things that are popping in here, this is the space fantasy is booming. And that's what I loved about it. And the music, every single episode, I always rave about the music. The music was so fantastic. Once again, Kevin Kiner, and the sound in this one too. And what they've done, and granted, there's a lot of volume stuff, and there was a couple of times in this episode that I saw, and I was like, oh, I saw a little CGI, but it was not enough to where it was like, oh, that's the Flash bad. It was like, it just a couple things, but for the most part, the volume is still there. But it really, and that was one of the other reasons that I didn't do a reaction yesterday. By the time I got back, is that I wanted to watch it on the big screen, and I wanted to listen to it on. I have a sound bar, and I wanted to listen to it that way and just kind of sit on my couch and enjoy it that way. And I did, and the sound was just fantastic in this episode. And the space battles and this is just in general what they were doing with the space. And then we're in this cockpit for a bit with the two of them, because we've got to try to figure out where the hell we're going, what we're doing. And I love this dynamic with her and Yang, where he's like, I did tell you that I don't know where we could end up. And she's kind of laughing. We saw a little bit of that Ahsoka that we knew, the laughable kind of joking around Ahsoka. And I thought Rosario Dawson did a good job with that. And then as they're coming out of this, she's like, I got not necessarily a bad feeling about this, but she had a bad feeling about it. And the mouth opens up and boom, we're right into it. They set up like these mines, Thrawn. This is kind of the first indication of the battle plan between, with Thrawn and what Thrawn does. They are flying through space. They are trying to battle through, and she's got to maneuver out of this thing. And Yang even says, well, the good news is that the whales have us covered. And the whales say, F this, we're getting out of here. She's like, you just had to open your mouth. And they go through it. And I love this shot, man. I love this shot. Like, this is the difference. And I can't remember who I was talking to, Johnny LaQuasto, when he was on the big thing on Monday, which is our full podcast. If you haven't seen that, we're on every day, Monday through Friday. The big thing. Check it out. Another reason to subscribe. But Johnny was on, and we were talking about like the difference in between like the quality in television today and the quality of say back in like the 80s, the 70s, and the 80s, and how significant television, the changes between. You can never look at this. I mean, this shot alone, like, look at this. This looks like if I would have showed you this 10, 15 years ago, you'd be like, oh, okay, that's a shot from a movie, and a great shot from a movie. And this is television, and expensive television, but television nonetheless. And it looked really great. I loved this shot. We got the lawnmower guy. He's coming in. The leaf blower's back. It's Star Wars, so he needs to be back. So they show this. They get to the ring portion of it. They're flying through, and this was, again, about as Star Wars as it gets, as they had to kind of navigate through all this. They got people chasing them on their tail, and then Thrawn just calling the shots from the side. And I was a little, as I said, it's just a couple things that bummed me out. I was a little disappointed because these stormtroopers are pretty scary, right? Looking. And Goldface, Gold Dust, as we're going to call him, is definitely creepy. Look at this guy. Look at him. And then you got this Elon Thrawn coming in hot. And the dynamic between Morgan and Elon Thrawn are hilarious, because he's just straight up, I know what I'm doing. Back off. Don't go after them. We'll be fine. And she's like, but wait. And she was the one calling the shots, but like every single time she's there to basically go, wait, what are you doing? And he goes, watch this. This is what I'm doing. She goes, oh, okay. She questions it at first, and then he goes, see? And she goes, oh, that's that. And I love that. I think it's great. So why aren't we continuing to chase him? We have a plan. And he has his plan throughout the entire time. And we see the strategic maneuvering of Thrawn throughout the entire episode. But the stormtroopers themselves, they turn out to just be stormtroopers who were dead at one point, maybe. It's what we think. But they're not very scary. They don't cause any damage. They should have killed the turtle people. They didn't. The bandits, ridiculous. That's what Thrawn's got to do, though. I said this, and I'll probably bring this up with Mike on Sith Council today. Thrawn needs a kind of devastating win. He needs something devastating to happen, whether it's a death, whether it's something in general. It's got to be devastating. This guy agrees. It's something needs to happen. Something's got to be a little bit more devastating than what it is. Sure. Okay. Yeah. That could be pretty. Yep. Absolutely. Yes. Yep. Sure. I didn't think about. Oh, you think Morgan will do that? Oh shit. Wow. Tell us how you feel. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. He's pissed. Okay, I didn't think about that, but that does make a lot of sense. That does make spoilers, dude. Spoilers. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, I just don't think those stormtroopers they're not very devastating. Right now, to me, Shin is the most devastating, and she still hasn't done much. It needs to be like I said, Thrawn needs a real win. But let's get back to what we're talking about here. Perfect. Sorry about that. Okay. So then Thrawn's just making his moves, knows what he's doing. Enoch, Gold Dust, knows it also. And then we got Gold Dust kind of flying away. This was symbolic, by the way. This is how he kind of disappears off the Zoom call. And Morgan's asking her questions. Thrawn knows exactly what's up. He knows what he's got to do. He's like, okay, look, let's pinpoint him. He's got this plan from the beginning. He knows exactly how this is all going to play out, and he knows that she's going to go try to find Ezra and Sabine, and he's got to lead her there. He's got to do it the way that he's got to do it. And then there is this moment finally that my biggest complaint last week was that she didn't tell Ezra anything. And so she fills him in. We don't see it, obviously, but she filled him in on everything that went down. I would have liked a mention of Luke Skywalker at this point. But even when she says, when he says, well, so the Emperor's dead? That's what they say. Someone's going to say he somehow returned. But that's what they're saying. Battle of Endor, all these things, and tells her the whole 9 yards. And then they were setting up the turtle people because I'm sure it's very Ewok-y. They were setting them up, and I was like, oh, maybe they're going to kill these things, and I would have been sad, and it would have been like pretty devastating. It would have pissed Ezra off a little bit. Ezra, I don't understand why he's been living with the turtle people for like whatever, between like 8 years, 10 years, whatever it's been like. As I was doing the math of it, someone said like how much, when you look at from before, it was before New Hope, and then about 6 or 7 years after Jedi. So we're looking at like 10 to 11 years, whatever it might be. So they're both close to like 29, 30 years old at this point. Why was Ezra just hanging out with the turtle people? Why is it just the turtle people and Thrawn? Those are the only people on, and the witches, the only people that live on this thing? He hasn't explored anything else. He just camped out. I mean, this guy. I mean, you would assume after 11 years, Sabine shows up. He's like, look, I know we're friends, but maybe we take it past that because all I've been looking at are turtles. So, has he met anybody else? Is there anyone else, or just turtles? He's been living with turtles for 11 years, and he's cool. He's fine with that. I mean, he's like, oh, I'm finally gonna go home. Living with turtles, get me out of here. Where I go, turtles making quesadillas, turtles watching their turtle shows. I can understand them here and there. I don't know what to do. Get me out of here. Anyway, they have this nice conversation, and I also like this. I've mentioned it. There's a lot of these different kind of references that have popped up from the original trilogy, and I felt it with. They were talking about Ahsoka, right? And they said at that point, well, what happened to Ahsoka? He said, it's complicated. It's another one of those things I wish he would have just said, well, yeah, she's dead. Because at the end, he goes, oh, you thought she was dead? It's like, I thought that was kind of felt between the two of them. Because, like, why didn't, like, this another, Sabine holds back a lot of information. Yeah, the one that you saved that time in the World Between Worlds, and someone that you were pretty close with, I hate to tell you, but she's dead. No, I'm just going to kind of, like, soft reference that something happened. But I think she's dead, but I'm not going to tell you that. Her choices, the choices for her character and what she decides to say and not to say are silly sometimes. Silly. Again, loving everything Baylan is doing. It's because the late, great Ray Stevenson just brings so much weight to this character, but has this whole thing basically telling Shin, listen, I can tell where your priorities are. My priorities are not there. They're just not there. I got different plans, and that's where they are. Thrawn also knows. Hey, listen, we gotta figure some stuff out here. Let's get the witches on it, and this is where the fantasy side of it. I love what they're doing, and again, look at the CGI. I mean, the CGI, like everything about it looks really, really good. It really does. Now there is some stuff, and I'll get to a little bit, that there's some stuff that feels old school Star Wars. There's some stuff that feels like, yeah, Filoni knows exactly how to write Star Wars. And there's sometimes I feel like, oh, this feels like animation writing. And I'm telling you, this comes from me loving this episode. Love this episode. But there's a few times that I was like, this is animation writing. But this is the part that reminded me of Empire Strikes Back, obviously. She tunes into it. She uses this. Sabine feels it. She's connected to the Force. We know she's connected. I still would hope that she is going to be more connected to the Force in the way that Chirrut was in Rogue One than full-fledged Jedi. And Ezra even gives her that kind of like, oh, you're training? Oh, that's interesting. You were okay when you were training, and she's like, all right, go ahead. Tell me how you really feel. But she knows, and again, doesn't really say anything about what happened. And this is where she thinks that she's dead, but then she tunes in, and yeah, Sabine makes interesting choices. Back to the witches, man. This witches are creepy, and Enoch is creepy too. I hope he puts up a fight or does something also, because yes, you can have a cool mask and you can do all this stuff, but if you don't do anything to make me scared of you, then what was the point? And they finally chase Ahsoka out of there. And as we get back to the turtle people, and we know now that this is when it starts to get dirty, because they see them. Baylan and Shin see him, and this is when Baylan pretty much says, okay, go do your thing. I'm not going anywhere. I know what you got to do. I'll give you one bit of advice. Be careful with, if you try too hard to try to get this fight done, no matter what the cost, that's pretty much guaranteeing you can get your ass kicked. She listens to him, though. And you can tell this dynamic that the two of them have. And she looks at him. They kind of part ways, and it looks like Baylan's going on his own journey, obviously, even though he does like one more square off with Ahsoka. But they play it really well. They play it well. So Thrawn again. Now he sends out these troopers. These are the troopers I was talking about. Oh, well, they're going to cause some shit. They're going to go. They're going to go in there. They're going to take out these turtle people, and it's going to be devastating. And just regular stormtroopers, they get their asses kicked. They get the other ones, and these bandits are worthless. They're worthless. They look cool because they're on the wolf rats, but when Thrawn was like, "You'd be lucky if your friend is still alive with the bandits out there." Now, what I will say is maybe Thrawn was kind of like, "I know that these idiots aren't going to didn't kill Ezra, so go ahead, go out there, go get them, and then Ahsoka will come get you, and I got my plan in motion." I'm willing to say that's what the end game was. He knew Ezra was around because he knew these bandits weren't going to do it. These bandits are worthless. Sabine took out 5 of them, and now they send in a whole. Nobody gets hurt. They shoot Sabine another 87 times. She's fine, but they come in, and they come in these wolf rats, and there's this again much better type of battle like this. Remember in the one that everyone was talking about, Rise of Skywalker, is like they can fly now. That ridiculous scene. This had like elements of how to do that right, because there's this battle coming in, and I love this. This was kind of like a thing that drives people nuts about Return of the Jedi. The Ewoks are hitting people with rocks, and the stormtroopers are falling down with these little rocks, and it's like their armor can't even protect them from rocks. And this turtle guy slaps this guy in the head with a rock, and it doesn't do anything to him. He's like, okay. And Sabine even says, "What are we doing here?" They're peaceful. They're peaceful and basically defenseless are two different things. And this battle goes on for a little bit, as it's just kind of it was a cool battle. You just knew that there was no real threat unless the turtle people. One of the turtle people should have eaten it. But they get through, and I guess they didn't want to kill the turtle people. I understand, but cool battle. I thought the battle was pretty great, and we're getting to the one part of the episode that I really didn't like, but this part I loved, as we see. Now, Shin shows up. Ezra's like, "Who's this?" And she's like, "Guys, she's a real pain in my ace." Tells him about the lightsaber. Shows up. Now, this is probably, Ezra probably should have been downloaded about all these people and should have known Who's that? That's the one I told you, the one who stabbed me with the lightsaber, the one who did this, the one who has been chasing us, the one that you should be prepped for. That's her. Oh, that's the one you just told me about on this long. Instead of us talking about the shows that we were watching on Netflix, you should tell me about her. But that's where some of the animation writing comes in. But either way, it was a cool scene to see. Because Shin is just determined to take Sabine out, and they square off. And this was the part that I'm so curious to see what you guys felt about this and how you felt about this. Like, I saw some people talking about it. I want to see both sides of it, because when I talked about how the Sabine not downloading Ezra on this stuff in that reaction, some people were like, nah, I didn't have a problem with that at all. That's what you would do. I don't agree with that, but I saw a lot of people just defending their point, which I thought was fine. It was great. And we had the discussion. Now I want to have the same type of discussion with this, because this is the one part that drove me crazy. She goes, okay, this is the fight. Now, remember how much you loved, and you were during Rebels, you were like really building that lightsaber. You needed to do it. You had your own, you had that first one, and then you built your own, and it was your pride and joy, and then eventually you gave it to me. I got to get to that now, because that's where I thought we were going. Because they square up. Oh, well, first, before we even get to that, I'm sorry. This is the part that was good. Baylan and Ahsoka. Baylan and Ahsoka kind of square off, and she's like, this is kind of the big boss video game moment. He's like, you're going to have to, I can't let you interfere. She's like, get out of my way, dummy. And they square off, and they have this battle. And then we're back to the scene that I was talking about. So she goes, all right, here, take this lightsaber. He's like, you keep it. What? You keep it. I gave it to you. Now you keep it. No, you're the Jedi. Grab your lightsaber. Remember what Obi-Wan said? It is a weapon of a Jedi Knight. No, I'm just going to run around and throw people around with the Force. Considering that you have 2 blasters, and you know how to use blasters really well, I'm not going to take my weapon, as opposed to, I'm going to use it right now. I wanted you to have it. I'm going to give it back to you. But, as Obi-Wan said, it is a weapon of a Jedi Knight. And this guy's running around the joint, tossing people around, and they have this silly kind of almost Last Jedi Skywalker moment of, I don't want the lightsaber. I don't need the lightsaber. What are you talking about? I use the Force as my ally now. Can still be your ally with a lightsaber. Can still be your ally with a lightsaber. I promise. A lot of people do it. So now he's making the battle even harder, when Sabine could just say, take the lightsaber, because I have blasters. I'm good. You can help us if you use this. No, instead I'm going to just start tossing people around with the Force. And he does. It takes probably a little bit more time than him just slashing down the people with it, but and they're just kind of getting the bandits, and they can toss the bandits around and with the Force and shoot them and all that. And then we go back to Baylan and Ahsoka, which the battle was fantastic. Loved it. And but as we get back to this part, was great. I did like this part. Now, if he has his lightsaber, this probably wouldn't happen. But Shin comes over, slashes at him. He ducks just in time, and I love when he gets up. This kind of like his hair's on fire, and he's like, "Oh, you just got me." And he's, just imagine if he had a saber, what would be going on here? But he's able to dodge, and he's using the thing to screw with her saber a little bit, and then in comes Sabine with the saber. There's the 2-on-1 battle, and there was a very Rebels kind of moment where he's like, "Oh, you're in trouble now." But now here come the ships. Now this is when I thought they were going to be in trouble. But as we bounce back, and Ahsoka's got to get out of there, because she knows she can't take out Baylan. He says as much. He's like, "Yeah, I don't necessarily need to do that, though." And in comes Hu Yang, who has this whole. They had this plan. Everybody has a plan in this one, and Baylan goes flipping, wee, and Ahsoka goes, "I'm on my wolf rat. I'm out of here." And this is what I love about Baylan. I love the character of Baylan. He's just like, he doesn't get mad and go, "Nrr." He's like, okay, I guess that's how it was supposed to happen. Everything for him is, I guess that's how it's supposed to happen. It's fine. Go, you did your thing, and maybe, it is what it is, and I have my own destiny, and I'll see you later. Ezra shoves the turtle person back in. Now here come these troopers. I'm like, okay, the turtle people are toast now. They're toast. No, just more people to take out. But Thrawn didn't care. This is more of a. This is what I did like about it. Thrawn was like, no, it's just a distraction. I don't care. Like, let them flip around and fight each other. Who cares? And I love this kind of Mandalorian moment as you have Ezra pull her out of the way with the Force. She throws the fire at her, and they band together. And now this was the animation moment for me. The two moments of the show that I thought didn't work, but again, want to hear your thought. Here's Thrawn says, you get them, take them out, kill them all. So that's exactly what she's got. She's got all these troopers, and they're all pinpointed right at them. Got them dead to rights. And she goes, kill them. That's her order, kill them. And for some reason, they listen to Ezra, who says, no, don't do that. Don't kill us. How about we get taken in as prisoners, huh? Or let's play Monopoly, huh? And it's like, why are they listening to him? You just got an order to shoot him. And then she says it again, do it. They still don't do it. And that gives Ahsoka enough time to come in. And then this is where the episode starts to get awesome again. She comes in and I love the fact that, okay, look, Baylan is going to be able to hold with Ahsoka. Not so much Shin. And she kicks her ass, throws her out of the way. This is when Shin listens, though. Shin knows, because she pushes her out of the way here, and then as it's pretty much starting to go in our hero's favor, as we're now still using the Force, throwing people around, and this is when Thrawn lets Morgan know everything's going according to plan. She's like, what I see is our enemies are back together. It's like, yeah, but time not on their side, as the Rolling Stones wouldn't say. And he gives the whole plan. It's like, look, we're going to be out of this dump we're almost done. All these yellow dots are pretty much all yellow. So we're going to be out of here soon. And these morons are still fighting. And now I don't know what's going on with Baylan, but who cares? Let's get out of here. And then we have, this was the moment that I had, again, I'm convinced now that Shin will stay bad. And I'm happy for that, because this was the moment where I think some people probably like, she's like, okay, look, I can help you. So because I can help you out. Come on. Come with us. Make the right move. Join us. Shin says, F this. Takes off. Gets on her horse. And it had kind of a Lord of the Rings feel to it for some reason. I don't know why. But then this was now we get back to the moments of the stuff that I really like. I love the stuff that I just talked about, but I mean the emotional moments where she's like, I thought you were dead, and she's like, come on. I'm not dead. I'm gonna miss this. And then finally gives Ezra the big old hug we were looking for. And that's when they have that, you thought she was dead? Yeah, I thought she was dead. I should have told you that, but I didn't. Even though she connected with me with the Force before, but it doesn't matter. Turtle people are happy. Everybody's happy, except it's gonna go down in that next episode. Obviously, in the finale, they're looking up at the ship, and that's the end of our episode. So, like I said, I thought this, minus those gripes that I had, the silly lightsaber moment, which I think was, I don't understand why they do this. I just don't understand why they do this. It's just like you had the opportunity to give them that big Jedi moment. Well, why do they do this consistently in Star Wars? It's like the stuff with Luke, the stuff with him. It's like give him, let him have his moment. Why would he not use the lightsaber? That was a very confusing choice. However, the sound, the overall look, the drive, the story itself, of Thrawn's strategy, of the fact that they got to have a season 2. I mean, they have to. I know that we're leading into this big movie, but I think they have to. I love the tie-in with Coruscant and the way they use 3PO and everything in general. The way that this episode played out, it had a lot of just great Star Wars moments overall, and I really enjoyed it. So I'm so curious to see and hear what you guys thought about the episode, to see if you agreed with some of the gripes I had, to see if you agreed with some of the things I loved, some of the stuff that I had said earlier. please go ahead and let me know in the comments. I got to hear it. I'm so curious for the conversation. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. As you saw in the beginning of this episode, we're sponsored by Surfshark in this episode. If you want to support the channel and you're able to, and you want to really protect your information, please go ahead and sign up with them today. That helps the channel out tremendously. So thank you so much. I appreciate you, and hit that button, man. We're getting close to 100,000, but we need you to hit it. So thanks again for joining me on this episode of Ahsoka Episode 7 Spoilers. Appreciate you, and we'll see you on the flip side. Bye-bye.